Hello everyone, welcome to Johnny's NetSec YouTube channel. In this episode, I'm going to show you a free NAT gateway and firewall solution from Marketplace. That is VNS3 NATe NAT gateway appliance, as you can see from the screen. You will get more information from their document website. You can find it from cohesive docs, and there's an introduction for this virtual appliance. Basically, I was looking for a free and lightweight, simple solution to put into my cloud environment to do port forwarding or NAT or basic firewall rules, and using WebGUI to manage it. I couldn't use network security group. In my previous lab, I used load balancer from Azure and also used a Palo Alto firewall to achieve this goal. But actually, those solutions are not free, and it's too powerful, too expensive for my simple lab. So I was trying to find something from Marketplace, and then I found this. There's a free version, and there's a limitation, 50 meg for bandwidth, but for my lab environment, it's perfect. So I want to share this with all of you to show you how to configure it and how to use it in your Azure Cloud environment. As usual, I always start with a simple diagram to show you what's gonna be installed in this lab. So basically, we're gonna spin up VNS3 NATe virtual appliance. We're gonna have two interfaces, one for on-trust interface, go to internet, and another trusted interface, gonna go to the LAN network. We're gonna have a Windows 10 machine for testing purpose. Of course, Windows 10 by default, they go into Azure Gateway to go to internet. We're gonna get rid of it, let use trust interface to go to internet, and we're gonna test the throughput and other functions such as port forwarding. Also, I have basic steps prerequisite list here. You will need Azure Account subscription and then simple 6 steps to follow. Create resource groups, create a VNS3 NATe virtual appliance, and then log in, attach a new interface for LAN network, and then modify or create a new routing table and a new node for the LAN segment. After that, just start testing. We're going to start from a resource group. Create test 1. We're going to go to Marketplace. Search VNS3 NATe. There's a couple versions you can choose. There's a free version. Again, the free version has a limitation, which is a 50 meg throughput limitation, but it's enough for my lab environment. Create a virtual machine. We're going to use our existing new created resource group. We're going to call it VNS3 NATe. The good thing, the nice things for this setup is that we don't have to use 2 virtual CPU, 4 GB memory, is standard B2S virtual machine. We can use a minimum, which is 1 virtual CPU, 1 GB RAM, which is more than enough for our environment. I'm going to use password for this VM. Next. You can use premium SSD or you can standard HDD, doesn't matter. They're going to create a new virtual network, new subnet, and also assign new public IP. This is going to be for our own trust network, which is connecting to internet. We're gonna use the public IP to visit VNS3 NATe virtual appliance and log in to do the configuration after we launch the virtual machine. We don't need a load balancer here. We can go to next step, next. review and create. The creating virtual machine steps is very straightforward. Follow the wizard, next, NAT, put the minimum information in, then you should be able to get this virtual machine up and running. I will pause the video and wait the deployment completed. After 2 minutes waiting, the deployment is completed. You can go to resource. Let's check the IP address. So we copy the IP. There's one thing we need to know: the credentials for login. The login URL will be on HTTPS public IP 8000, default username, and also default password will be VNS3 VM name and then private IP. So we're gonna use it to log in. After login, we're gonna change the password. So we are on our step 3 to log into VNS3 NATe web GUI and change the credential. So the system is still not fully up yet. It may take another 1 or 2 minutes to get it up and running for the web GUI service. So I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, continue. Finally, we are in a login page. If you see this page, you might need to refresh it to get a username and password text box activated for you to type in those information. As I mentioned before, we're gonna use default username to log in, and we're gonna use a default password, which is your VN's name and private IP to log in. After login, they're gonna ask you to change the password. You're gonna reset them right away. You're gonna type a new password, and also API password has to be reset as well. So we need to log in again using a new password. Perfect. So now we successfully launched our VM. Unfortunately, in this VM, we only have one interface. We have to get a second interface up and running to use it. So that's our step 4. Create and attach new interface to VNS3 NATe VM. To do that, basically we have to stop the VM. We want to reserve our public IP. We don't want to lose it. It will take another minute for this VM to be fully stopped. After that, we're going to go back to networking here and then click attach network interface. Right now, this option is grayed out because the VM is not fully stopped yet. I will continue after the VM is fully stopped. Now, as you can see, the attached network interface is available. I want to point out the NIC public IP 20.120.110.159 is netted to our 10.0.0.4 this untrusted interface. I call it WAN interface to go to internet. We're gonna create a new interface for LAN network, which is this interface 10.0.1.4. So we're gonna use same resource group, but we're gonna name it as LAN 1. We're not using this subnet, we're gonna use a new subnet. In that case, we're gonna create a new subnet for it. So we have this virtual network. This moment we have default subnet. We're gonna add a new subnet. We call it LAN subnet. We're gonna use in 10.0.1.0/24. We don't need the IPv6. We don't need NAT gateway. All others can be kept as simple as default. Now we go back to attach a network. And 1. So now we have 10.0.1, this subnet available for us to use. So private IP address assignment, we can use dynamic or use static. Doesn't matter. While we are creating this new interface attached to this interface, I'm gonna create a new virtual machine Win10 for our testing. For networking, I'm gonna using LAN network, LAN subnet. That is behind this new interface. We're gonna use it for testing. 3389 allowed, and there was a public IP. Actually, we don't need that. We don't need the public IP. Next. Review and create. Validation passed, so we're gonna create that. Gonna go back to our virtual machine VNS3 NATe. We're gonna start this virtual machine. Right now we have two subnets. So it's starting. It's gonna take another 2-3 minutes. I'm gonna pause the video and come back once it's done. Now both VNs should be up and running. We can refresh the screen to see we got the two interfaces. It's a NAT 0, 10.0.0.4, it's NAT 1, 10.0.1.4, which is our LAN interface. There's no public IP with this LAN interface. For Win10, it's also up and running. We cannot connect it using Bayesian service since we don't have public IP assigned to it. There's no public IP. I already enabled the Bayesian service, so we can just type in username password to log in. This is our first time to log in. Accept all default settings. So now we're gonna try to see if we can connect to internet. It's not able to pin public IP. That's normal, but we can tell we have public IP address 20.120.111.46. Our Azure gateway for VNS3 NATe VM is 21.20.110.159. Right now, our Win10 has default gateway 10.0.1.1 to go to internet using 20.120.111.46. What we're gonna do for our step 5 is we're gonna create a routing table, get a new route for our LAN subnet. Basically, we're gonna create a routing table to get all 10.0.1.0/24 network to using our VNS3 NATe trust interface to go to internet. Before we do that, we wanna test the internet speed to make sure we know how fast it will be and what's the restriction on this virtual instance. We won't be able to use this service to test that. We're going to use another one. So download speed is around 400 Mbps. Actually, we got a 500. Also, we can get our upload speed around 100 Mbps. So based on our step, we're going to create a new route table and a new route for LAN subnet. One more thing to show you is default gateway, which is 10.0.1.1. 10.0.1.1 is going this route, not going to this. We're going to change that. Route tables, create a new one, create a new route table using test1 resource group, review and create. First thing, we create a route. Route name, let's say default for LAN 1. Anything go to 0.0.0 destination, we're gonna use in next hop type, which is virtual appliance, and that gateway IP, virtual appliance gateway IP is .4. So put it OK. So that's a default route we created, and then we need to assign subnets for that. So we can associate our test1 virtual NAT subnet, which is LAN subnet, to this route table. So that's the changes we need to make. Actually, there's one more step we need to work on, which is the route for the connection. Let's quickly go through the settings on this virtual appliance. So here is the status. We can do sniffer, capture the packet, and you can see the firewall. Right now, we have NAT settings for outbound traffic. We allowed outbound traffic to go out. We also allowed the inbound traffic for response traffic. We do see our interfaces. Let's take a look at route. So route is pretty simple right now. We can take a look at OS view. There's one thing, we have default route to go to internet, but we don't have a return route for our LAN traffic. Basically, we need to add one more route to telling our virtual appliance the LAN network is behind Ethernet 1. So we need to add this route in. We need to add this route into our VNS3 NATe appliance. After that, we can try a couple things here now. You will see the magic thing happening, which you are able to pin 80808. You also can do a little bit of tracer. You will get a couple hops, especially the first hop is going to tell you that's our virtual appliance. So right now all traffic is going to our virtual appliance directly. Even we have our gateway is 10.0.1.1, but actually it will go to 10.0.1.4. So the next testing will be, what is my IP? So right now it's using 110.159. Look at here, 110 and 159. We are not using 111.46 anymore. So all traffic goes out from our virtual appliance. How the speed test looks like? We were using Xfinity speed test to check the speed. We're going to test it again. As you can see right now, we only get less than 50 meg, which is a restriction from this virtual appliance free edition. So we can use it for free, but the speed only 50. Same thing on the upload speed, you won't be able to get the speed more than 50. There's one more thing I want to show you for the configuration of the VNS3 NATe. You can forward in the port 3389 to your internal server. Just here is my configuration. Let's go back to our diagram. Our Windows 10 doesn't have public IP and we cannot directly connect to it using 3389. So with VNS3 NATe virtual appliance, what we can do, we can open port 3389 on this interface IP, on trust interface IP, and forwarding the traffic to 10.0.1.5. So the configuration will look like this. I already configured it here. This is first rule. I already configured here. So basically, we are doing NAT forwarding the traffic. Anything destination on 3389, that will be sent to 10.0.1.5. And also, we're going to allow that port on Ethernet 1 to forwarding to the 3389. So once you did this configuration, we're going to give it a try using remote desktop connection. That's my local machine. We're gonna directly connect to this interface, and you will get prompt username and password. If you log in, you will kick out of this session. So let's give it a quick try. In that way, you don't need a load balancer. You don't need any other expensive firewall to do this job for you. You can have this small virtual appliance spinned up in your virtual environment, and then you can have NAT firewall control. More than that, you can also install plugins. So there's more plugins you can download it and install here. The free version only can allow you to download and install one, but there's more potential here which you can integrate with a WAF firewall, web application firewall. Also, you can have URL filtering, this kind of advanced features to be installed. That's pretty much everything I want to show you in today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you found this video has some useful information, please give me a thumb up. Also, if you haven't subscribed my video channel, NetSec, please subscribe. See you in my next episode.